Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Emotional Balance Under Pressure, Capacity and Choice. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, what it means to stay emotionally balanced when life is pressing on us. We can go through long stretches of time where we're extremely busy. We have a lot of unresolved issues. Decisions we need to make are stacking up, and there are so many things in our life that have tremendous uncertainty. And over time, I've noticed that the body often does not experience life as a series of moments. And sometimes we just experience it more like a pressure, just like a sense that we're carrying something all the time. It's like the noise around us never turns off anywhere. There's always information, always something to respond to, always something that needs our attention. And our nervous systems really weren't built for that. Our nervous system is really meant to respond and then recover. But when we never have that moment to settle, being in an alert state starts to feel normal. And that's when everything in our lives starts to feel challenging. And that's why the idea of capacity is such a big issue for 2026. And when I say capacity, what I really mean is how much room we have inside ourselves at any given moment. Room to think, room to feel, room to respond without immediately reacting, and room for our nervous systems to recover. Because when there's enough room within us, life feels manageable. We have more tolerance for uncertainty. We have more room to change our minds. We can pause. But when that room starts to disappear, everything in our lives has an emotional cost. Even small choices can feel heavy, not because they're important, but because there isn't much space left to hold them. And I've seen this play out very clearly in my own life. There are periods when on the surface, everything looked fine. Work was steady, relationships were okay, nothing was falling apart. And yet I noticed I was avoiding small things. Emails I didn't want to answer, doctor appointments I kept postponing. Decisions that should be simple did not feel that way. And at first I judged myself. I told myself, you need to push harder, Allison. You need to fulfill your obligations. You need to take care of your health. Be more disciplined. Get it together. But eventually, something shifted. Instead of asking what was wrong with me, I asked a different question. I asked myself, what am I already holding? And when I really looked, it was obvious. I had some unfinished conversations. I had some family responsibilities. I had some emotional history with my ex-husband I hadn't fully processed, ongoing work demands, and none of it was dramatic or in my face at the moment, but all of it at once really took up my capacity. And once I started to see that I was at full capacity, all my hesitations and delays started to make more sense. And so instead of pushing myself, forcing myself to move faster, I thought to myself, maybe I need to create a little more room within myself. And sometimes that meant saying no to something small. And sometimes it meant not getting back to somebody without it meaning anything about me. Sometimes it meant stopping my internal arguments with something I couldn't change. And as this pressure eased, some of my capacity came back, quietly, gradually. And before I go any further, I want to pause here and suggest something. But I just want you to notice, where is your energy going right now? Not where you think it should be going, but where is it going? You might notice that some of your thoughts or time are tied up in the past. You're replaying old conversations, carrying something that's technically over but not finished inside you. Or you might notice some of your energy is worrying about the future, bracing yourself, worrying things aren't going to work out, that you'll never find your dreams, that life won't go your way. And then look at how much effort is going to resisting what's already here in the moment, telling yourself it shouldn't be this way. Now, these are all places that take up some of our capacity. And we know that the past is behind us. and we have to process our feelings. But after a while, it's like banging your head against the wall and taking up time for the life you want today and the life you want to create. We know that the future is uncertain, and we know life has maybe. So as we are feeling down about the possibilities in our lives, if we remember that our fears are not absolute and there's an unlimited field, maybe we could create more capacity in ourselves if we're not worrying. And then when it comes to resistance, we know everything is the way it's supposed to be because it is. It's not a judgment. It's saying this moment is here giving me this thing. And if we resist it, you're taking up your capacity instead of saying, I accept what is in front of me. I might not like it, but I accept it. And then decide moving forward what you're going to do about it. Better to put your capacity towards your next action than resisting what already is. So you could ask yourself, what can I set down right now can shift things? And from a small bit of extra space, something new becomes possible in your life. And another place that I have found takes up a lot of capacity is separating the experiences we're having in life from who we are. And to show you this, I'm going to give you an exercise. Think of something in your life that feels heavy right now. Not the biggest thing, just something present. In your own words, complete this sentence. Right now, I am experiencing blank. Keep it factual. I'm not in a relationship. I'm struggling at work. I feel disconnected from my friends. Now just notice if your mind adds another sentence. This means I am blank. This means I'm not capable. I'm not lovable. I'm not enough. You don't need to argue with that second sentence or correct it. Just notice that it showed up. That space between those two statements. The first sentence, right now I am experiencing, and the second sentence, this means I am blank. The space between those two statements, that's usually enough. That's where a lot of our capacity lives. That's where things start to move again. But if you could stay long enough for your system to remember that what is happening in your life is not who you are. It's when our experiences turn into our identity. The options we have in our life, they feel like they disappear. Not because they're gone, but because we're overloaded and we're blaming ourselves. And when we blame ourselves, we stop believing in ourselves. And when we stop believing in ourselves, we don't take the action that we need to change our lives. Part of our capacity is how we see ourselves in the world. And when we are able to separate ourselves and know that we are lovable, we know what we seek is seeking us, we know that our dreams are real, we know that there is hope in the unknown. When we get ourselves back to that center place where we feel sturdy and we feel lovable and we feel capable, then we create more capacity in our lives. And all these things give our nervous system a place to rest. So if you've been feeling worn down, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It may just mean you've been carrying more than is obvious for longer than your system was designed to hold it. And capacity could always be rebuilt, sometimes quietly, sometimes over time, and sometimes with just letting go one thing that you've been holding on to, or having just one lovable thought about yourself and separating it from the things that are happening around you. And when your capacity comes back, choices become easier again. Not because life is perfect and everything is working out, but because you have more room to meet it. Your nervous system gets to rest and your heart gets to open and you get to experience life from a different place. And with that space, you will find that you feel more hopeful, you see more possibilities, and you remember that for all you know, maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe A Year Without Men, Maybe Everything's Okay, A Parent's Guide to Less Stress and Worry, You can find them at all major bookstores and online retailers. If you'd like to buy my Maybe cards, you could buy them on Etsy or my Stand store. And most of all, if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.